Hi, and welcome to Across the Desk. I'm your host, Kit Fairchild. This week, we're going to talk about our wonderful Oklahoma governor in an episode I'm calling Oh Stitt. What's he up to again? Now, we all know our governor's not the best governor in the world. Of course, he claims not to be a politician or know anything about politics or pretty much anything about governing. So he's a businessman, which, makes sense that we would want him in the governor's office. So anyway, this is, you put someone in there with those kind of qualifications, and you're going to get things like what we're going to talk to today. A few things that in Stitt land that's really just off the clown car rails here. One, there's a thing, the emergency preparedness and response services. Now, this is a agency or group that in Oklahoma that was put together after the N1H1 virus for pandemic control. And we're going through one now, so it's kind of obvious when you're looking, hey, what happened to this agency or this group that was supposed to take care of this? Well, Kevin Stitt in his wisdom disbanded. No, we don't need that anymore. And the funny thing about it is, this is federally funded. We get federal dollars to do this, and he just quit doing it. So one, it makes me wonder, hey, where are those federal dollars going now? Now we're not doing it anymore. Is he appropriating them somewhere else? I mean, what's he doing with them? Or are we even getting them? Do we just say, no, we don't want that? You keep it, Washington. Why don't you spread it out to somebody else who wants it? Because we don't want that here in Oklahoma. And that's kind of just baffles me as to why he would do that. And then all of a sudden now we're in a pandemic when we need one, and then we don't have that in place. So in his wisdom, he puts this guy in. His name's Gino DeMarco. And this guy, he's the guy who's our PPE czar. This is the guy in charge of getting Oklahoma's PPE, making sure we got masks for our first responders and ventilators and everything else. And so you're wondering, wow, how good is this guy? Well, he's got experience in oil and gas. So that ought to tell you right there, the qualifications of this guy. But, hey, man, Stitt's all behind him. This guy's a great guy. He's been in oil and gas for years. They paid me a bunch of money. No, he can't say that. So he's not going to. He's just going to say, this is a great guy. He's got my full confidence. And I'm sure he does, because the oil and gas industry has paid Stitt a bunch of money or have done favors to gain access and grant access. So this is more that crony capitalism we're talking about. Pay to play. I'm almost positive. Even though Stitt's a big-time billionaire, he still likes that money, and he's going to do whatever he can for the power and influence. And the big power and influence is oil and gas. So he's going to make those guys happy so they don't make them a bad time for Mr. Stitt. Because, Mr. Stitt just doesn't want that kind of bad time, I'm sure. So he's going to put in the oil and gas cronies into spots like medical services and medical supply procurement when he has no experience whatsoever when it comes to medicine, medical supplies, or anything else. The guy's experience is oil and gas. So that's what you get here in Oklahoma. Hey man, I need a plumber. Oh well, the oil and gas guy down the street. I need to get you use for your lawn, Joe. Who do you use to mow that? Well, there's this oil and gas guy that I use. That doesn't happen. So here you go, Kevin Stitt, playing crony capitalism and having somebody in a position when we really need leadership, good leadership in that position, because lives are at stake. And, to Kevin Stitt, being able to stroke some backs or whatever else he's doing, put somebody in a place that doesn't belong there, well, that's what Kevin Stitt's going to do. Now the next thing is, I don't know how much this DeMarco guy has in this. I don't know, he's in procurement, so PPE or whatever. But we just spent $2 million on a malaria drug that doesn't work for COVID. But the governor's wisdom, we need to spend $2 million on this. Now we spent $2 million on a drug that's a quack drug, pushed by the President of the United States, and Governor Stitt wanted to do it to kiss Trump's butt. And and it's easy for Stitt, and this is the bird nest on the ground for Stitt. He gets to use our taxpayer dollars to do it with. So, to him, it's a win-win situation. Hey, man, I make myself look good with Mr. Trump, and I didn't have to spend any of my own money to do it. I just wasted taxpayer money at the tune of $2 million to buy this quack drug that we're never going to use. So, that's what you have with, the nice bumbling and fumbling of Mr. Stitt, as he's our governor of this state that he wants to be top 10 state. Here we go. Which makes you wonder, wow, and he's so against this state question 802. Oh, it's going to cost too much money. Where are we going to get the money? We're going to have to come up with all this money all the time, but we're getting like 9 times the return for the money we put into it. And one thing is, this is already paid for. One, the federal end, we're already paying the money for it. The other end, the taxes are already allocated, and there's a law in place already to get that. So, saying that we got to come up with all this money, it's kind of a farce. And then when you look at how much money he's wasted, he wasted $2 million on a drug that doesn't work. That's what he did. Not only that, let's talk about the other thing. How about his last stand that he's doing with the 35 tribes here in Oklahoma? We haven't heard too much of that lately, have we? Here we are, supposed to be no gaming in Oklahoma since January 1st. And hey, with the pandemic going on, there really isn't. But you know what? They're still allowed. They do stuff. Some people do. And they're still gaming. They've still got their casinos. Mr. Stitt hasn't been able to do anything about it except get 2 tribes to agree to some agreement that was even worse than the agreement he wanted. And still there's a question and pretension about how legal that is. I know it went to the courts. They said, hey, this is perfectly fine and legal. And it's attempted division. That's what he's doing. I'm going to cleave off some of these tribes. Okay, you cleave 2 out of 35, so you still got 33 that are together going, Stitt's an idiot. So that's what they're doing, and so he's bumbling around with that, doing Stitt's last stand, fighting off 33 Indian tribes, and there's no way he's going to win. But hey, he's wasted a lot of money on this, so now we're on what? The 4th law firm that's taking us over at the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So you got to think he's already wasted several $100,000 on law firms that ended up being fired or let go within weeks after they got the assignment. And still had to pay them, so that's our taxpayer money. But Stitt doesn't care about that. He doesn't care about your taxpayer money. He only cares about your taxpayer money when it's an issue that he disagrees with. And I guess that's all fine and dandy as long as he's willing to take the repercussions of people like me coming out and calling him out on it. Hey, you know what? You look silly. You look silly. You look like a guy that likes to, gripe about things that he's doing himself. So here he is, wasting a bunch of our taxpayer money while also griping about, hey, state question 802. And that's what you get with Kevin Stitt these days. So we have him bumbling around. We have him, his horrible job he's done with the COVID. He's out there going, oh, we're not going to shut down. All he cares about is the economy. All he cares about is the money. Like you see him do it all over the place. They're willing to let people die to save the economy for COVID. And, it makes you wonder, you guys really aren't pro-life after all. You really are pro-birth, and it's so true. They're pro-birth, they're not pro-life. And I can see that on so many levels of why they are. One, the economy. We need plebe workers out there, and we need bodies to hit the floor so that they can work to make that money for us rich people. And that's how they feel about people being born. They also want to be able to preserve that through their war machine. And how are they going to do that? Well, we're going to do that with bodies. We're going to take the poor kids and we're going to draft them if we need to. And we're going to have them protect our industries. And that's what they do. So they're pro-birth, not necessarily pro-life, as we have seen, painstakingly over the last couple of months, especially with this pandemic and all the civil unrest that's going on. So there you have it. That's Kevin Stitt in a nutshell. He's not doing a great job with the virus thing. He touted this million people coming to Tulsa to this rally that only had 6,200. He looked like an idiot there. People are getting tested and testing positive from going to that rally. The Secret Service people, the campaign people, and who knows how many other people got infected due to that rally. This has got to be a black eye for him. Getting rid of the response team, the pandemic response team that's federally funded, getting rid of that. Wow, if that doesn't hit you in the face like, wow, man, you really screwed that one up. And then you're just, there's nothing's going to change your mind if you don't think that that is bad. And then just as especially the bumbling he's had with the tribes. Here they are. They still have no agreement, but they're still gaming. And he's lost this one. He even tried to get his replacements to come out to help him out with OCPA. Oh, it's not OCPA. It's what was it? Oklahomans for Fairness. Of course, three of the members of Oklahomans for Fairness are the same directors that are on OCPA, but they're not the same people. Of course, here's the funny thing with that. This group took in millions of dollars, and when it came out, hey man, who's your funding? How much funding did you get? We're not going to disclose that. We don't. That's the law. Don't you guys care about the law? If you cared about the law, you wouldn't ask us who our donors are and how much money we took in. But here they are. They haven't put out anything since the beginning of March. You haven't seen anything with them, but 2 weeks earlier, they were taking in millions of dollars, haven't done anything with it. So where'd that money go? What did the directors of OCPA do with that money? Now I wonder. We'll probably never know because they're never going to tell us. But you could probably think if it was good, then they would tell you what they were doing with the money or what they did with it. Because that money's gone, folks. They took in a bunch of money from probably the Koch brothers and other PACs like that, and whoever else they got to send them money to be against the tribes this time around, which, it's really hard. They're the only people against this. You're going to go against 33 well-entrenched and well-organized and united tribes in Oklahoma. You're fighting a losing battle already. And here they are taking in a bunch of money on this, and you haven't seen anything since March as far as any kind of opposition. They haven't done anything. So, you sit there and go, yeah, it's all about the money with these people. And sometimes it gets kind of icky. Anyway, that's my story this week on the governor of Oklahoma and, his kind of shady dealings and, just total blundering that he's been doing over the last couple of months. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this week's episode, and we'll see you next week.